will march off. Move to the right and column roots. Right down.
As you can see on your screens, the parade commander, Colonel Jammeh, has just got the go-ahead to march out the parade from the Independence Stadium that is out of the field. And now they are going in with a quick march. This is one of the most interesting events you can ever witness in the annals of this country, especially in the inaugural annals of this country. Spectators, as you can see on the pavilion, are all enjoying themselves despite the sun being very, very hot. To them it seems the place is just as cool as anywhere, because they are overjoyed and they are overwhelmed with what they have witnessed today. That is the inauguration of their president, who is now given the due mandate to take care of the affairs of this country for the next 5 years. By the way, coming for the parade commander, Minkeda Colonel Pierre Menditi, another twice Superintendent Ansu Kinte, Sane His Excellency President Onying, I do what dealer, pro is a parade onying, wala ñun police onying, ay moñol mi ñano ko machola filo koroten, police machi finti, afanan bol ci ka saintanting, ke machi ni ke finti den, jamit diari mbake, bawo ñi mu kulati mi ñano ko, je man dia, ñi musi mama we kulati, min bebe jang, mote sar no la fa ka kenyami, e ka trade drong, ye min no je ofo je bari ka foko abe nyami jaar ko fo moye, wu ko la bag, e be julu dimal kosila, ba social be match kula, police be match kula, immigration be match kula, paral be match kula, ani douane fa be match kula, ani immigration ani do côté ngol, abe ba kasara no dal. Andi Aida, am na mu ngi interesting trop man mi de explain li sax xam naa man suma sañoon sol uniforme rek join leen maajale ak
yëf fi rafet na man bu ma nekkee ci jataay yu mel nii Aboubacar jigéen ñi laa dee gën a seetlu parce que boo ko seetloo fi mu nekk nii fi jigéen ñi nekk rek góor ñaa nga fa seen boor fi góor ñi nekk jigéen ñaa ngi seen boor ndaxte li nga xam ne moo fi xew nii tey parade commandant bi colonel Pierre Mendy nga am superintendent Ansu Kinta jàppale ko ci wàlli Gambia National Army bi boobu tamit nga am jiite ko di second lieutenant Lamine Damfa ci wàlli jigéen ñi nag second lieutenant Fatou Badji Navy bi nga am Ibrahima bi Diallo general duties nag nga am jigéen Sidia Koudia bi mooy ku góor ki jiite jigéen ñi mooy Fatoumata Touré Seydi ñoom ñëpp liggéey bu rafet lañ fi def police intervention bi jigéen ki ko jiite mooy Seynabou Badji ci wàlli góor gi ASP Fodé Konté ci wàlli kolas wàlli ñang ami flank lieutenant bi di Alaaji Ndongo Gambia immigration bi nag ASI Aliou Faye moo leen jiite ci wàlli jigéen ñi ASI Dieynaba Koli prisons jigéen ñi ASP Bintu Sané ci góor ñi ASP Ibrahima Cissé Gambia Fire Rescue Services góor ñi station officer Yaya Fanne jigéen ñi SO Fatou Bojang ci wàlli douane yi nag Gambia Revenue Authority nga am jigéen collector Umi Sonko góor gi nga am collector Lamine Mare mbir yi nag nii la fi tëree léegi nag am nañ ndigal ci njiiti réew mi ne nag fi mu nekk nii wi na leen xam naa li cee war a tegu si rek mooy kàddu yi nga xam ne moom la njiiti réew mi war a gaaral fii ci kanami mbooloo yi nga xam ne moo fi teew xam naa ne lim fee digle si li ci ëpp yëpp moo di nañ booloo liggéey jàppalante liggéey suñu réew ndaxte ñun ñëpp benn lañ moom dig ñu li nga xam ne moom la fi def wala won ñu ko jaru ko sax ndaxte mbir la moo xam ne ñëpp a ngi koo gis xam naa ne dina waxit mbiri ndaw yi nañu góorgóorlu réew mi ñoom ñoo ko yore ji ëllëg ñu ne ñu tàccul daxa baa ko wax ñu tàccul président Jammeh ndax xam ci suba ba tey tàccu yaa ngi fii jib li gën a daw yaram sax mooy ndeysaan Adja Sow Bojang président bi bu waatee ba pare dem na sukka ci ronam mu ñaanal ko te xam naa ne nekkuma ci xolam waaye ñaan yoo xam ne la ci xolam bi la ko tibbee ndaxte sa doom boo xam ne mbooloo mi teew yëpp ñoom moo tax mu toog ñaan yi nga ko ñaanal xam naa ne dina ko jikk te yal na yàlla nangu ñaan yi loolu la Boubacar Adja Fatou Assom bi loolu la def doom bu nekk wala jigéen bu nekk dafa ñaan yàlla doomam raw ko doomam sut ko fan doomam ëpp ko tur te loolu mooy li nga xam ne moom la Adja Fatou Assom bi di bànneexoo tey ci jamono jii nii.
dafa am lu ma si doon teg sax ma ne leen ne lii jàngal la boo xam ne jàngal la réew mi yëpp président bi ak nu moo nekk président ak ñu ko tooba yëpp gis nga mu ñëw suka si doon yaayam di sàkku ñaanam loolu lu am solo la si doomi Adama mu ngi ñëw wane daal nit ki doo am place nga xam ne sa kilifa doo ko mës a romba waaw. loolu moo tax soosé dañ dee wax beneen adage ñu ne nit di nga mën a mag ñëpp ba mu des sa mag waaw si lu gàttal yaay noo mun di mag doo ko mën a mag waaw loolu moo tax président bi ñëw jàngal ñu fii ñëw sukal ko xam naa Balde moom dañu mën a wax si pol la
Aboubacar man dimbale la yow yaay borom ICRA léegi nag da nga dee dégg da nga dee isil ñi nga xam ne dañ dégg ñooy waare soo si hadith yi wax nañ ni ne tànk pour dem ajana daal si sa tànk yaay si roni tànk yaay la nekka
Ibrahima Balde jërëjëf fàttali nga ma loolu Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam moo ko wax si hadis bu wér mu ne doomi Adama sa arjana mu ngi sa doon tànk yaay waaw te président bi su ko si doon tànk yaayam su dul dara sax mën nañu wax ne jël la arjana bi foofu noonu lañ ko waxee waaw because lu ko yaayam ñaanal am nañ yaakaar ne dina nangu because maa ngi doon déglu last time benn kilifa bu mag mu doon wax mu ne nit yi mbooloo mi luñ wax loolu mooy wax yàlla waaw mbooloo gis loo mbooloo bi ñu ne yaa jaay mu jiite ñu yàlla tax mu jiite ñu mu ne waaw. soo dem mu laa wane daal su nekkee réew mi yëpp rombal leen yaay def ko suñu yaay kooku lu mu ko ñaanal.
His Excellency,
ñaan buy dal la.
President-elect of the Republic of the Gambia and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, inaugural address. You are kindly all to remain seated until the President finishes addressing everybody before any other things else. Thank you very much for your kind attention, Your Excellency.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين. Your Excellencies, my dear colleague heads of state and government from Senegal, Mauritania and Sierra Leone, Your Excellencies, the Prime Ministers, Your Excellency the First Lady, Madam Senabia Jammeh, Your Excellency, my dear mom, Ada Fatou Assom Bojang, Your Excellency the Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs, Ada Dr. Aissatou Ndiaye Sedi, Honorable members of the National Assembly, the Honorable Speaker and members of the National Assembly, my Lord the Chief Justice, Prime Ministers, Foreign Minister of Taiwan and other countries, representative of their heads of state and government, Your Excellency the former President of the Republic of the Gambia, Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara, and First Lady Chilel Jawara, Your Excellency, my friend, the former President of Nigeria, General Olusegun Obasanjo, Honorable Ministers, Secretary General and Head of the Civil Service, Honorable National Assembly members, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, Lord Mayors and Regional Governors, senior government officials, service chiefs, paramount chief, Sefolu, Alkalolu, and community elders, heads of parastatals and public enterprises, party chairmen, Yai Kompin, national mobilizers, venerable religious leaders, distinguished invited guests, APRC militants, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I thank the Almighty Allah and praise Him for all the favors and blessings bestowed upon us, particularly for the peace, tranquility, and progress that we so gratefully enjoy and jealously guard in our beloved motherland. I am grateful to the Almighty Allah for making it possible for all of us to witness this momentous occasion, giving me a fourth term of office as President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Republic of the Gambia. Admittedly, therefore, it is with much pride, gratitude, and humility that I deliver this inaugural address, whose theme is Gambians United to Build an Economic Superpower. Before anything else, let me take the singular privilege and profound pleasure, on behalf of the government and people of the Gambia, my family and my humble self, of welcoming and paying special tribute to the distinguished heads of state and other international guests who have traveled far and wide to grace this solemn occasion. In particular, I feel honored to acknowledge the presence of my dear brothers and friends, the heads of state and government from the sub-region. I also take this opportunity to welcome the distinguished prime ministers and foreign ministers, speakers of various assemblies, and Senate presidents who are here to represent their respective heads of state. Their participation in the solemn ceremony reflects the depth of the special and enduring relationship, as well as the solidarity and friendship that exists between their beloved countries, our dear motherland. We welcome you all to your second home, the Gambia. Your Excellencies, you are at home. We count on your continued friendship, solidarity, and cooperation for the mutual benefit of our respective countries and peoples. Fellow Gambians, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, overwhelmed by the intensity of the solidarity, confidence, and trust you unprecedentedly demonstrated at the recent presidential election, I convey to you without reservation my infinite appreciation and sincere gratitude for electing me for a fourth term of office as head of state of this great country. You have not only spoken through the ballot box, but have also projected your resolve, will, and conviction to channel the progress and development of our motherland through me and by extension, my government. The 72% votes cast for me out of a monumental voter turnout of 80% on a free, fair and transparent electoral process is a decisive and convincing victory by all standards. Never before have Gambians turned out in such record numbers to freely, peacefully and orderly exercise their franchise to elect a president. In view of this, allow me to record special thanks to my dear mother, my wife and family, my government, and the massive APRC stalwarts and supporters, as well as all Gambians who contributed to making this joyous moment a reality. To our two friends and brothers and sisters in the international community who have sent messages of solidarity, support and prayers before, during and after the elections, I say a big thank you. May the Almighty Allah guide, protect and reward you all. Your Excellencies, a re-examination of the voting patterns of the last election clearly reveals that the mandate you have accorded me cuts across regions, districts, constituencies, ethnicity, gender, age, and all forms of device, whether these are artificial or natural. That there is no single group that constitutes over 72% of the population corroborates this. Thus, this is not a victory for me or the APRC alone, but a victory for the patriotic, progressive, development-oriented good people of this country. It is a victory for solidarity, peace, security, progress and socio-economic development. In consequence, my tenure of office will continue to eclipse and neutralize all forms of sectarianism and will be marked by the full participation of all of us, patriotic and progressive Gambians, for the attainment of our sacred aspirations as a nation under my leadership. This is the source of my courage for focusing this address on the theme, Gambians United to Build an Economic Superpower. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, one may be tempted to ask whether this is a realistic goal. If yes, what does it take to achieve it? Or what type of society need we cultivate for its realization? What strengths must we harness and what threats should we counteract? Let us all attempt to answer these questions in our various ways for appropriate action as we strive and march on during these 5 years. Fellow Gambians, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it must be appreciated that in our context, being an economic superpower connotes being a great nation of dignified and self-dependent people, guided by sublime and divine values, people who are proud of being what they are, that is, Gambians. This implies further being Gambians that are politically, socially, morally, and psychologically, and of course, above all, economically independent and able to live by our principles, sustained by our resources, and setting our own standards, and looking up only to the Almighty Allah, in whose benevolent hands we place our collective destiny. Ours has to be a common destiny that is determined, defined, and directed by us, and not dictated from outside our source. The achievement of the past 17 years convince us sufficiently that we can attain a lot more if we unite under one supreme umbrella, our dear motherland, and work together diligently, honestly, and in the best interest of every one of us. I will not bore you with a string of achievements made over these years. There are lots of publications that have done this. But such material has not done is to project the impact of these achievements on the lives of the people or on their standards of living. However, I believe Gambians have done this. Hence, they know where lies their salvation or emancipation from poverty, waywardness, disease, ignorance, underdevelopment, disunity, and all the negative elements that have kept African nations stagnant and backward for centuries. For the massive support and love you Gambians have for me, I hereby pledge to take you to the promised land of an undisputed economic superpower, inshallah, in the not too distant future. Africans, including Gambians, have been known to be resilient in naturally resisting hardship and diseases. With the breakthroughs in the sciences and traditional medicine, we will have to transform that resilience into positive energy, redirect it for positive change, and embed our sense of patriotism in a new form of citizenship. But pragmatic, patriotic citizenship for rapid and sustainable development. Patriotic citizenship for independence, progress, peaceful coexistence, national security, social cohesion, dignity, and of course, global recognition. Let this be patriotic citizenship with the resolve to march on in unison to the envisioned status of a global economic giant. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Gambians. Discernibly, our notion of building an economic superpower is not epitomized by a keen competition for lethal weapons of mass destruction and incitation of enmity among nations so that such weapons can be tested or sold to boost our economic progress at the expense of innocent lives, but a notion marked by the creation of a secured environment by the state for the preservation of peace, social justice, human dignity, and highest quality of life for all and sundry. Indeed, attaining all these objectives requires the utilization of human ingenuity in search of greater peace, love, and prosperity for humankind. It is against these precepts and perspectives that I will make reference to the recently launched National Program for Accelerated Growth and Employment, otherwise called PAGE, to briefly outline some of my key priorities, policies, and programs for the coming years. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, fellow Gambians. The beginning of my term of office for the next 5 years coincides strategically with the commencement of the implementation of Phase 1 of the Program for Accelerated Growth and Employment, PAGE, which spells out government strategic priorities and activities for the period 2012 to 2015. The successor program will follow to guide us through to the year 2020, which is the target year for the realization of our Vision 2020. The hallmark of the page is that it is dynamic and transformative, and therefore has the propensity to transition the Gambia into a highly developed country with highest living standards for the citizenry. The key components of this comprehensive national program are designed to accelerate and sustain economic growth, eliminate poverty, build ultra-modern infrastructure for a safer and better transportation system, guarantee universal access to affordable energy, and enhance a modern information and communications technology network for efficient utilization. To attain and sustain all the envisioned outcomes, the page also focuses prominently on intense human capital development for employability, with corresponding and carefully targeted health service interventions crafted to nurture a healthy populace. All these will be interfaced with strengthening and reinforcing the existing governance systems, structures, and procedures, while stamping out corruption and other evil practices that undermine development endeavors. Fellow Gambians, cognizant of their significant contribution to the economy, the growth sectors will be subjected to significant reforms during these 5 years. The agriculture sector, for example, will have to exploit the advantages that go with existing technologies to transform its characteristically traditional modes of production and align their interventions with modern developments and predetermined outputs. By necessity, such transformation will permeate the entire Gambian community in order to render my back to the land call optimally productive. Various vigorous efforts will be made to revolutionize the tourism sector with a view to making the Gambia a world-class tourist destination. The promotion of ecotourism would be intensified without compromising on our cultural values and heritage. We will also diversify our products, intensify our partnerships internationally, and improve on our facilities and hospitality industries and services through training provided in collaboration with the University of the Gambia and other reputable institutions of higher learning. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in the years ahead, the Gambian people will not only have to catch up with the advanced countries, but also strive to overtake them. Global trends dictate that to achieve this, education, training, science and technology, as well as innovation, must serve as the axis for scaling up the development progress in the country. In this direction, the full and sustainable electrification of all communities in the Gambia is indispensable. As we require digital communities capable of contributing to a knowledge-based economy and society, science and technology will dictate our pace of development. Let me seize this opportunity, therefore, to declare 2012 the year of science, technology, and innovation. To commemorate this declaration, I ask all sectors, institutions, municipalities, and regional governors to work in collaboration with the Higher Education Ministry to implement the program proposed in this regard. A national committee comprising the Ministries of Higher Education, Basic and Secondary Education, Finance and Economic Affairs, Information and Communication Technology, Energy, and of course the University of the Gambia, will lead this commemoration under the chairmanship of the Minister of Higher Education, to be assisted by the Vice Chancellor of the University of the Gambia as Vice Chairman. To complement this, we will engage ourselves more vigorously in wealth creation through innovative entrepreneurship, skills acquisition, development and application, as well as knowledge generation and innovation. The education system will be made more responsive to these challenges and will design forward-looking programs that anticipate challenges and produce quality scholars, graduates and leaders that are critical enough to search for and proffer solutions, not students who create problems and challenges that deter development. In a nutshell, we don't need antisocial, anti-progress, egocentric graduates and leaders who think of nothing but themselves. My government will ensure that quality, relevant and robust curricula are developed and grounded deep into the realities of the Gambian people and the global socio-economic milieu. These educational programs will be made effective in tapping positively the valor, energy and potential that repose in the youth of this country. The scope, depth and degree of participation in national development by the youth and women in particular will be amplified to accommodate their effective contribution to the construction of the economic superpower we all yearn for. Essentially, therefore, new thinking and new ways of doing things should guide not only our educational institutions, but also how we operate in the workplace, the home, and in the wider community. To put it bluntly, only great personal sacrifice by all of us, Gambians, can quickly bring about the economic superpower status. Ladies and gentlemen, the completion of the University of the Gambia campus in Faraba, Banta, and the operations of both the Kanila Institute of Science and Technology and the ultra-modern Ndemban Skills Training Center during these 5 years will bolster efforts geared towards the attainment of our vision and lofty ideals. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the current illiteracy rates are admissibly unacceptable and have to be lowered to the barest minimum until illiteracy is totally eliminated from the Gambia. Our definition of literacy will from now on transcend the ability to read and write only. It will encompass functionality characterized by general awareness of contemporary issues and ability to make informed choices as demonstrated during the last presidential elections. The revision of the current education policy 2004 to 2015 will be complete in 2012, and the centralized teacher training approaches will be introduced at strategic centers in the country and intensified progressively to ensure that adequate quality teachers are provided at various levels of the basic and secondary education sectors. While we continue to take pride in the enrollment and parity rates registered at the basic education level, efforts will have to be stepped up in order that no child is deprived of the right to quality education and therefore the right to equal opportunity to compete in the world of work and to lead a useful and comfortable life. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to translate Vision 2020 into the reality of the Gambia becoming an economic superpower, we must ensure that all our development efforts are firmly underpinned by a sound, efficient, and effective justice delivery system. Thus, our laws in the areas of public finance, development, trade, and commerce need to be continually fine-tuned to reflect the realities of international trade and investment of the 21st century. To this end, my government has, in recent times, enacted laws aimed at not only boosting investor confidence, but also creating a level playing field for development. However, the mere promulgation of appropriate laws does not necessarily create the environment conducive to the transformation of the Gambia into an economic superpower. Investors, both Gambian and non-Gambian alike, need to be reassured that our laws are adhered to and implemented with easy recourse to the courts for speedy dispensation of justice being assured. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, fellow Gambians, we should endeavor to protect the nation as we make progress. Therefore, the security services will be boosted and we'll have to work with the citizenry to secure our borders and all within. Fellow Gambians, we are all aware of some of the attendant vices of economic growth, such as money laundering, environmental degradation, forced labor and trafficking in persons, and drugs, to name a few. These are inimical to sustained economic development and will never be tolerated by my government. We have promulgated the necessary legislation and established the relevant institutions, but a characteristic common to all laws is that their effective enforcement depends on every one of us, not only the law enforcement agencies. We must unite as patriotic Gambian citizens and work with our law enforcement institutions and agencies to cleanse all potential breeding grounds for criminals once and for all. Crime has no place in the Gambia. The Gambia belongs to all of us, irrespective of our political or other affiliations. Accordingly, all Gambians, young and old alike, owe the solemn duty to the nation of making the Gambia a shining example to the world of how a small country, through the hard work, honesty, patriotism, and the determination of its people, can be transformed into an economic superpower. All that is needed is the collective will to act, and more importantly, the blessings of the Almighty Allah. As the saying goes, where there is a will, there is always a way. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me reiterate my commitment to universal access to uninterrupted supply of electricity and water in the country. In this direction, the initial electricity projects, such as the additional power generation capacity, Brikama Phase 1, the West Coast Region Electrification Project, the Gambia-Venezuela Project, the Rural Electrification Improvement and Extension Project, as well as the ongoing water projects, would be expanded systematically during these 5 years for complete national coverage. By the grace of the Almighty Allah, every corner of this country will eventually be lined up with street lights, and all communities will be provided with clean drinking water. We will settle for nothing less. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, fellow Gambians, ladies and gentlemen, our foreign policy will continue to be anchored and guided by the principle of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, dialogue, and mutually beneficial relations with our friends, neighbors, and the global community. Added to this, our quest for peace and love for humanity hinges on respect for the rule of law, upholding our cherished democratic principles linked to natural and social justice, political prudence, and respect for the sanctity of life, and the right to legitimate freedoms, happiness, and self-fulfillment for all. We will continue to deplore and condemn all forms of terrorist and racist acts, whether these are committed by individuals or organized groups or by any nation or nations, but simply disguised as humanitarian interventions. Crucially, in striving to become an economic success, we will not entertain selfish pursuits of economic gain devoid of any ethical undertones. Hence, my government will never subscribe to economic advantages from expansionist motives or suppression and domination of other nations. At this juncture, I thank all the friends of the Gambia who subscribe to these ideals and continue to stand by us. We look forward to a renewed commitment to the fraternal ties that bind us. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, fellow Gambians, the stage is set for the realization of our development objectives, and I say this with utmost sincerity. This is not the time for mere rhetoric or empty propaganda. For this reason, in implementing the programs outlined above, all sectors will review their policies to reflect these pronouncements. All of us must also endeavor to revolutionize our implementation strategies, sharpen our organizational skills, raise our sense of discipline, and work tirelessly and much harder. Let it be made clear that the implementation of these national programs will be subjected to continual monitoring, evaluation, and review, and there will be zero tolerance for anyone who tries to stall this process. A National Planning Commission will be re-established to work very closely with all sectors for policy and program implementation, including continuous monitoring and evaluation of each sector's performance. Hence, the institutionalized tri-annual cabinet retreats and the Permanent Secretaries Forum will also serve as national review, evaluation, and planning platforms. All these should provide a web of systems and structures for effective implementation of our development agenda. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before concluding, let me implore all Gambians to continue to demonstrate a keen sense of political maturity during the forthcoming National Assembly elections. We must continue to demonstrate to the whole world now how the Gambia has come of age and is poised to stand tall in both national and global matters. Your Excellencies, distinguished invited guests, fellow Gambians, ladies and gentlemen. In conclusion, let it be reiterated that the fundamentals of making this great nation an economic superpower have been clearly spelled out and created. The most vital building block to achieving this esteemed socio-economic status is the human resource base, that is, we the Gambian people. And this includes all Gambians, both within the country and outside. We the Gambians are the greatest and the most invaluable asset that can make all the difference in our development process. Together and united, we can overcome the obstacles and challenges ahead. But this requires discipline, unity, courage, dedication, resolve and steadfastness, and as well as honesty from every one of us. The road to making the Gambia an economic superpower is very clear, and the objective is within sight, and there is no turning back. Let us unite for progress, dignity and freedom from poverty and destitution. I wish you all a very peaceful and prosperous New Year, and pray that together we attain all our development aspirations within the letter and spirit of one people, one nation, one voice, and one destiny. May the Almighty Allah be with us all at all times. Long live the great Gambian nation, long live the APRC, long live African solidarity and unity, long live the friends of the Gambia, long live the progressive and peace-loving people of all nations. I thank you all for your kind attention.
That was His Excellency the President on his inaugural statement, which of course encompasses a lot of things, reminiscing his 72% win of the votes, which he described as a free, fair and transparent one. He also said that the victory was not just for him, but for the patriotic, progressive, development-oriented people of this country, and I may also add for Africa as a whole. The source of his courage, according to the President on this address, the theme, Gambians united to build an economic superpower. And we did say that the President cannot do it alone. Gambians must come together and help the President. This implies further being Gambians that are politically, socially, morally, psychologically, and above all, economically independent and able to live by our principles, sustained by our resources, and setting our own standards and looking up to only the Almighty Allah, in whose benevolent hands we place our collective will. Well, it was a great speech. The President also highlighted on attaining all these objectives, which he said, and it requires the utilization of human ingenuity in search of the great peace, love and prosperity for humankind. In furtherance to that, the President noted that it is against this precepts that the recently launched National Program for Accelerated Growth and employment, which I was talking to Abubakar, that to briefly outline some of his key priorities, policies and programs for the coming years. Thus, page is at the apex of the President's development aspirations. Yes, exactly. That the commencement of the implementation of phase 1 of the program for accelerated growth and employment, which spells out government strategic priorities and activities for the period 2012 to 2015. Well, like we said, it's been a very, very long speech. The agriculture sector, for example, the President said we will have to exploit the advantages that go with existing technologies to transform its characteristically traditional modes of production and align their interventions with modern development. He also called on vigorous efforts to be made to revolutionize the tourism sector with a view to making the Gambia a world-class tourist destination. He also spoke on ecotourism, education, training, science and technology, as well as innovation, must serve as the axis for scaling up the development progress in the country. The President has been, like I said, very, very instrumental, and to put it bluntly, he said only great personal sacrifice by all of us Gambians can quickly bring about the economic superpower status. Well, yeah, absolutely. And as we've rightly pointed out, Abubakar, these were the key areas, the hallmarks of the President's address on this inaugural address. And I think it has been warmly received by everybody, and we hope that it goes well with him in the ensuing years that come ahead of him.
Okay, and Malik, thank you very much. And to add on to just what you were saying, the Gambia leader has also said that Gambia belongs to all of us, irrespective of our political or other affiliation. Accordingly, all Gambians, young and old alike, owe the solemn duty to the nation of making the Gambia a shining example to the world of how a small country, through the hard work, honesty, patriotism and the determination of its people, can be transformed into an economic superpower. If you look at the theme of his statement, you realize that he's been emphasizing this issue of Gambia becoming a superpower. And Malik, that is possible, of course, I believe, with the active participation and the involvement of everybody, irrespective of which political party you belong to. Earlier I was asking you concerning that same point, and you said that it is imperative for all of us to put our political affiliation behind and work together as a people towards the achievement of our common goals. I know, Malik, that is very, very important.
It is, of course. This is the Gambian. It's not the political party, but the Gambian who's got a leader that is calling on people to move forward. We're in the 21st century. Political divisions should not divide our objective. I think we should stick together and just try to achieve what's entailed in a division that we have ahead of us. Aida, Sigatal.
Okay, Malik also.
Your Excellencies,
the President also reiterated his
guests,
commitment to universal access to
ladies and gentlemen,
of electricity and water in
we
the
will
country.
now observe the departure of His Excellency the President of the Republic of Senegal, Maître Abdoulaye Wade. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
We cannot read everything to people, but I know, of course, with our subsequent program, we'll try to explain as much as we could to enable our dear viewers know what the President is meaning exactly. Mbadingol ninkumu President wa yala kumo fole nyande mimbe fola banko mole ya fole ay bunda jamal ma mimbe dandi senola ku Kenya la be seno samala nyaadi le nyato kata tourism mi yalon ko wala luntangol mi yalon ko kana banko kan anin koko de jamal mi yalon ka bebi dandi banko la nyato ta kulto ay kacha fango ngo fango minti wala nyindi ko gammenol be kafla no nyola nyaadile pour ka je ko banko nyi nga sam nyato o mu ko kuma balte anda nyi foko fanam politiko nyanda ko fay koma kafu nyoma nga nyoma ko isaje ko la fa banko fudana damin do safran ni woto kayre kono andi Aida wax bi lerna wax bi sedna. The President has spoken and has spoken well. Now lo mëna bokki olof yi ci waxi President
President bi nak kaddu yu gudda la fi wax parce que weesu na ñaar fukki kayit ak juróom benn yoo xam ne gaaral na fi kaddu yoo xam ne yu am solo la wax na ci nag lu aju ci jubluwaayam pour boole réewi Gambie ñun ñëpp ñu bokk liggéey réew mi ndax mu jëm kanam ndaxte réew moo gis rek mbooloo mooy doole kenn mënta def dara wax na sax lu aju ci programme bi nga xam ne taxawal nañ ko bu yàggul pour gën a yaatal gën a yokk lépp loo xam ne rek moo di indi yokkute ci wàllu amal liggéey ci biir réew mi surtout nag ñi nga xam ne ci biir réew mi wax na
His Excellency Ernest Bai Koroma. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
liggéey moo fi nekk moo xam parti boo mun a nekk rek ñu booloo liggéey réewi Gambia ndaxte loolu mooy suñ jubluwaay président bi nag kàddu yu gudda la wax loolu yëpp nag li ci gën a am solo mooy daal ne nañu booloo bi dëgëral na ko dëgëraatal ko ndaxte booloo mooy doole ñu liggéey pour Gambie jëm kanam loolu nag lu am solo la ndaxte nit ki bu la ne kaa ñu bokk a liggéey oona la ci jàmm oona la ci njëm kanam oona la ci yokkute ndaxte liggéey mooy yóbbu réew liggéey mooy tax nga mun a jaamu yàlla liggéey daal mooy sampa réew mooy sampa mbooloo loolu moo tax nag ba président bi ne ñu jàppale ko ci juróomi at yi nga xam ne moom laa dugal si nii ñu liggéey réew mi mu jëm kanam moo xam xeet bu mu mun a doon moo xam askan bu mu mun a doon moo xam diina bu mu mun a doon moo xam parti politique bu mu mun a doon moo xam ndaw nga moo xam mag góor wala jigéen réew mi jëm kanam mooy suñ jubluwaay loolu mooy li nga xam ne nag moo fi xewoon tey bokkay kàddu yi gudda na dañ ne du leen mun a waxal yëpp ci benn jataay bi waaye nag incha allah ci suñ programme yi ak suñ xibaar yi dinañ leen ko gën a mun a faram-fàcceel mu gën a leer waaye nag lii mooy li nga xam ne moo fi xewoon tey président bi waatloo nañ ko pour mu jiito ñu yeneen juróomi at yal nañu jik ñun ñëpp ñu dajee waat fi ñun ñëpp ñu fekkee yokkute réew mi ñun ñëpp ñu fekkee njëm kanami réew mi ba nga xam ne yeneen juróomi at dinañ fi daje waat kon nag maa ngi leen di gërëm bu baax a baax seen xarit seen doomi ndey ay yóbbu ci jataay bu am solo bi nga xam ne ñu ko doon def fii ci Independence Stadium
jarama Aida Diop Malik Jones Aboubacar Dabo programme o ari himɓe joni on ndi wondema président o haali konngol julgol noon kono ko ɓuri raɓɓeninde haala ko fi programme mo gandanɗa de ɓuura andirede programme for accelerated growth and employment woni programme mo gandanɗa laamu ngu suuɓi ɗum yo wondema ɗo ɗi duuɓi jowi garoji woni 2012 ha 2015 ko ɗum laamu ngu ko ɗum ɓe paala anni wadde pour Gambia o noon programme ko a taratnima ɗi fof ɗi nattodiri hen fi kulle ɓamtare Gambia fi kulle enen tan hakkude e meɗen julaɓe fi kulle e garoɓe e tubakoɓe garoɓe ɗo ɗum woni tourisme en nani wondema mbo haali fi kulle ɗum e ɗo noon musidɓe am e programme o huuɓi en kollirama wondema président Sénégal o ko on ardani yaade e abbima ɗon nan noon président Mauritania o e mbiɗa andi so ɓuuri hettade programme jamen ɗi ɗe balɗe min ɓuura on hollirde wondema lamɗo o ko ɗum haali e fof kulle o programme for accelerated growth and employment. Malik Jones.
Thank you very much. Balde, Aida Job, and Aboubacar Dabo. The president sees off his guests. Among them his dear mom, Asombi Bojang, who is now entering that car to depart. Other leaders that have left are Ernest Bai Koroma, the Sierra Leonean president, and the Nigerian statesman Olusegun Obasanjo will also take leave of us very shortly. But having said all that, it's been a great day here in Banjul as we witness the President's 4th inauguration ceremony, which has been well attended by leaders from within and outside the continent. And right now the Mauritanian head of state is leaving. That is in your picture. It goes very shortly. I think, well, Gambia has been able to do a job that very few countries in the continent will do. Sadara Karabai Jawara and the president, the past and the present, shake hands, and naturally we'll leave then.
There, viewers, as you can see, His Excellency Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya Ejeje Jammeh, scene of the foreign head of state who have come to join with him to inaugurate this very important day in the history of this country. Now is the Mauritanian President Mohammed Ould Abdel Aziz, who is just taking his leave. And as you can see, he has just shaken hand with the former president, or the president of the First Republic of the Gambia, Dawda Kairaba Jawara. It was very, very touching and a very, very, very great moment. Badingol, Nalba Jibekang, Bankola Jango, His Excellency Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya Jammeh, Atelebe Luntam Bunyadangol Jindangan Sai, Friendly Bipolanang Studio Moto, Kata Say the Sabbath Lato, I mean that sign that the Mauritanian President of the Mohammed bin Abdel Aziz, Sai Pelorin, the Olusegun Obasanjo. The gentleman you can see on your screen is Olusegun Obasanjo. This is the former Nigerian president, and as you may understand, he has ruled Nigeria for 2 terms as of course a very, very, very dynamic and a strong leader in his country. Now the president is chatting with him. I know he's also delighted with how the ceremony went, and flanked by the Nigerian High Commissioner in the Gambia, Badingol, Olusegun Obasanjo, and President Jammeh Fendi Kachala, Jandinga Badana Pro, I do not know what Faneta. Abalatan Romusun Bilorinje, what am Nigerian High Commissioner Mimbe Gambia Honojang. And the Ida, I did the Watan, Lidal, I'm not solo trop.
Walul, I'm not solo. ndaxte oote ñu uyu si la rek dafa neex ñi ay naataangoom lañ ñu nekk bitim réew président bi nga xam ne moo di président de Mauritania, président bu Sierra Leone ak président Ablaye Wade ak yeneen réew yi nga xam ne ñoom lañ fi lim ku ci sa président ñëwut sa vice président ñëw na wala sa prime ministre ñëw na wala sa ministre bi saytu diggante ak bitim réew ñëw na waaye daal uyu si nga président bi li ci gën a neex nag mooy Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara mi nga xam ne moo yóbbu woon Gambia independent moo nekkoon président bu njëkk ci biir réewi Gambia mu ngi fi ñëw teew ànd ak soxnaam la di ci leel Jawara ñoom ñëpp ñu ngi woon ci jataay bi mu doon jataay boo xam ne na jataay bu neex la ñu ngi cee kontaan lool di ci ndokkale fépp foo xam ne doomi Gambie yaa ngi fa rawatina nag ñi nga xam ne ñu nga bitim réew duñ leen fàtte suñu mbokk yi nekk bitim réew ñu ngi leen di ndokkale yéen i tamit xam naa ne yéen a ngi seetaan te seen xol ñibbisi na waaye nag ba tey àddina mel noonu foo leen ci nekk rek na ngeen xam ne réew mi ñoo ko bokka te dégg ngeen président bi mu ne nañ booloo liggéey réew mi.
Excellencies, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are now seeing the former President of the Republic of Nigeria,
We continue to bring you pictures of the departures as they take effect. Heads of state and their representatives as far as South Africa, Botswana, Rwanda, Burundi, and other parts of the African continent have all been here this morning. And our partners in Taiwan, Qatar, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, Kazakhstan, and invited countries. It's been a remarkable day here. That's the Minister of Justice in your picture there in the middle, Edward Gomez. And behind the President of the Republic of the Gambia. It's been quite a day. The presidential limousine just parks out there in front of His Excellency, waiting to leave. The First Lady, Madam Jammeh, will depart alongside His Excellency the President, and that's it. It's all been done. Congratulations to the man in your picture now, as he lives with his wife. Well, he said it all in his inaugural statement, and we wish him well. And that is where we will take leave of you from the Independence Stadium. My co-commentators here this morning have been Ada Job, Balde, Abubakar Dabo, and for me, Mali Jones. We'll now leave you with the rest of the pictures on the skits.
February, Independence Day, is another day in the Gambia. Also, Gamsel, 18th February, back on Independence Day, here at the Independence Stadium. Independence Day, and the Independence Move from Andorra Judgment. Independence Day, and you have to take to work for another Independence anniversary. To the beginning, the Andorra Gamsel. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. General Secretary, please, wanted. Thank you very much. The